Boys and girls, STP's been back. We did 3 already, and we're doing a bam, 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 bam after work on the week eve. I can't even talk right now. On the weekday evenings after work, we're gonna pump them out. Wait till you see. We've got like probably 1, 2, 3. We got about 3 or 4 weeks in a row. We're gonna be pumping interviews out, and right here, it's a Monday. Don't like Mondays, but look at who we have this Monday. He's going to spice it up a little bit for us, the fans. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, Clipper Jones, the local barber. What's up, baby?
Mr. Kincaid, pleasure. I've been doing pretty good. Been on a hot streak myself. How have you been?
Hot streak myself. My love, Cindy Hart, she's been picking up some work as a ring announcer and trying to do her thing. So I've been behind her and supporting her. And at the same time, I'm checking out me some new promotions. I'm seeing new faces and meeting new people. But along the way, I met me some Clipper Jones because I've heard of one Clipper Jones, especially, and you're going to love this. You're going to love this name, especially through one Joey G. That is the kid that really got my eyes on one Clipper Jones because he was going to Invictus pretty much from day one at the old barn, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Is correct. Joey G is, in fact, my very first wrestling fan. And I got to say, working over the last 2 years, there's only been at least one show Joey G hasn't been to. And I got to say, without Joey G, I can honestly say there might not be a Clipper Jones because anytime I get a shirt, anytime I have a match, he's the first one to share my stuff, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. It doesn't matter what social media I'm on, he will, hey, Gas, like, hey, Clip, is there where's the show gonna be? If it's within range, I'll be there. If it's not within range, I still might be there. So
That's true.
Joey is, for those who don't know, he has the Sign Rip podcast as well. I was also on there, and I'm going to say it on here, the same thing I told Joey, like, if he ever needs anything, like, I don't care how far I go, I'm always going to try to be there for him. So,
Look at the love, boys and girls. Oh, my goodness. Now, see, this is a good super fan in one Joey G. This isn't a super fan that's creeping on one Mr. Clipper Jones and telling him how to work, how to dress and how to do stuff and just being a pain in the ass. Joey G is one of those good guys where he makes the signs, he lifts up our favorite talents, he spreads the good word of said favorite talents, as Mr. Clipper Jones just stated. I love me some Joey G. And again, he was the guy that turned me on to Clipper Jones. So my eyes started getting on one Clipper Jones. And finally, Shut Up and Wrestle 23, a big, huge surprise. And I know you knew it was a big surprise because we kind of semi-bumped into each other in the parking lot. And I was screaming like a jackass, and I was tooting my horn, and I was screaming, it's Clipper effing Jones in the parking lot. I was losing my mind. But that kind of felt like a weird super fan moment, maybe, but I was just so excited to see me, some Clipper Jones, and holy, that was your debut at Shut Up and Wrestle too. So, I mean, I go to them all, and that really made me pop, sir.
and that's how I've been getting a lot of these bookings is I just magically pop up and I go, excuse my French, holy shit, it's Clipper Jones. You know what I'm saying? And I go to one show and there's a guy that likes my stuff. They say, hey, why don't you pop up to this show? Because I know you're going to kill it in there, so you might as well just show up. So I'm just going to say, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there might be a few other promotions in the Massachusetts area you may see me in.
Okay. All right. That's what we like to hear. Our favorite local talent spreading their wings, especially you've just said earlier, I'm just going to pull it out. You've only been around 2 years right now.
Correct.
So in your young tenure, a lot of the boys and girls, they don't get away from the nest, if you will. until maybe a few years down the road because they feel comfortable at home. But I love hearing the young talent that have trained in X place. We're going to get to that, and feel ready and is blessed by their trainers to, move away from the nest as well to spread their wings. I love hearing that stuff because then we wouldn't know Clipper Jones if he was just chilling at home over wherever he originally trained. And again, we're going to get into that because I know what's up with that. So love hearing it, love seeing it on the medias. Guys like Joey G spreading the good word. It flows over to other fans. I'm now doing the same thing. I see you at Shut Up and Wrestle, and I've seen you at Invictus and whatnot. And that's what we do, my friend. That's the world of wrestling. That there's a couple things with the dance that I like to call between wrestler and fan. Obviously, it's at the shows, but it always overflows, especially, with the social medias. And nowadays, it always overflows to outside the ring and on the Facebooks, the Twitters and stuff like you mentioned, the Pornhubs and not Pornhubs. That, my bad. I get carried away. But it does overflow into the medias and that community of wrestling right now. And I know it's detriment. The internet has been detriment to wrestling, but also really good for wrestling. Do you feel, because I've asked this question a few times, where are you at on this fence of it's really good for wrestling, or you feel it's kind of hurt wrestling over time? Where are you at on this subject, my friend?
So I gotta say, 2 years ago, other than Joey G, I didn't really have anybody else that watched my stuff. So my social media account, my Facebook specifically, only had about 150 friends, and that was like my family members and friends from high school. So I didn't have that reach that I have now, which is almost 1,000 friends at this point. And that's because I started wrestling more locally and meeting more fans that wanted to share my stuff, wanted to buy my merchandise. So it may not be the right answer, but in my opinion, I feel like that fan and wrestler connection is a lot more beneficial for the wrestler's career, because if the fans don't know about you, how are they going to buy your stuff? How are they going to know which show you want to work at? You know what I'm saying? So I give all my heart to all the fans that have bought all my merchandise, even if it's a single 8x10 for like $3. I just say thank you,
Again, more love from one Mr. Clipper Jones, boys and girls. We're feeling it. We feel it at the shows, and now we're feeling it sitting here. And it's, on STP, my friend, we pull, quote unquote, we pull back the curtain so we get to learn about the talents that stuff and hear stories and whatnot, and their upcomings and whatnot that we wouldn't hear seeing the talent at the merch tables during intermission, pre-show, post-show, what have you. Because we only get maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, because it might not be too active at said point. So you might get a couple more minutes out of the said talents, but we still don't get some of the stuff that we would be sitting here talking to Mr. Jones this evening and get to hear about. So my point of saying that is the love that you feel at the shows, I can feel that it just overflows outside the ring with the fans. And I'm going to go right here very recently to Shut Up and Wrestle 23. Now, Shut Up and Wrestle never, that was the very first time ever that they've done an intermission of any kind, because Abe has always done, dishonesty, has always done 8 matches. That's his magic number, and he loves how that flow goes, and it's always worked. We did have 8 matches, but it was like 100 degrees outside. So thought it would be cool to take maybe 5-10 minutes, 10 minutes at the most, just to get a little breather. But surprisingly, I have to say, walking into that setting, it was a bit cooler than expected. Do you agree with that?
Of course. The locker room was extremely, once I seen about that 6-foot tall fan that was in there, I said, yeah, this nigga, we're not going to have no issues in here at all. No, it was pretty cool.
So there's 4 matches. They split it in half, 4 matches and 4 matches. Now, the 4 matches leading the fourth match leading into the intermission happened to be one Mr. Clipper Jones. And after that match, there happened to be, I want to say after the second or third match, there was a mother and a group of kids, maybe even a couple parents and a group of kids. But I've seen the mom at 2 or 3 previous Shut Up and Wrestles. So they're kind of new to that specific promotion. But she came with like, I don't know, 10 kids, 8 kids, 12 kids, who knows? I lost count at that point. But they all came in. It was her son's birthday, and he brought a bunch of friends, and they went to wrestling, and they were having a fantastic time. And as Clipper Jones was coming through for his entrance, they were all about Clipper. During his match, they were all about Clipper. On his exit, they were all about Clipper. And I seen all of that from the vantage point of my phone recording that match and all of the footage that I took at Shut Up and Wrestle. And I love looking through the lens. And I know people have asked me, do I miss a lot while recording? I actually catch different things that I probably might not have caught, because looking through the lens is a different animal. And seeing the special, and I know I'm drawing and I apologize, the special moment between you and those kids, there was no way I could pass this up. Whenever I hit stop on the record button, I went right to those kids and I go, you guys want a picture with Clipper after the show? And they were like, hell yeah. And I go, we can make that happen. I think I'll go speak to Mr. Jones and we'll see what's good. I went to you. You said, absolutely no problem. I'll be here to the end. And at the end of the show, that was one of the very first things we did. And Clipper, you've seen that picture. You were hanging out with the kids, making that walk from the room to the outside to take that picture. Those are those special moments that the fans and talent both take home with them.
So I met those kids at a previous show a couple of months back.
Okay.
This is why I believe, in a higher power, just by my stance, I felt really blessed that one of my friends that, as you were saying, had left the flock, per se, started doing work in Massachusetts by the promoter by the name of Richard Blake for a promotion called New Age Wrestling down in Springfield in the Eastfield Mall. He hits me up and says, hey, I want to see you in action because this guy has been saying so much good things about you. I want to see the local barber. So I come down to Springfield, going to Eastfield Mall, going to school. He says, this is odd. This is about the biggest number of fans we've ever had at a show. It was about 50 fans because there was a lot of children in the crowd. The guy my friend was supposed to wrestle ended up getting injured. He hurt, couldn't go to the show. So what the promoter's freaking out, this is my top guy. I don't know what we're going to be able to do, to fill in the time before, because he always has intermission, 4 matches intermission, same as, Honest Dave. He says, my buddy goes up to him. So, I know Clipper, we go way back. We've been doing training with each other for at least over a year. Don't doubt this. Just listen to me. And this is what we're gonna do. Me and Clipper are gonna go for 20 minutes, and we're gonna come up with a story. We're just gonna do something, but we're gonna go for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna go to intermission. He said, he looked at me, he looked at him, he said, kill that shit. So after every 3 matches, we went out and we wrestled, not for 20, but we did go about 19:30. The match is on YouTube, and I'll try to find the link for it to send it up. Yeah, it's Clipper Jones versus Anytime Alan Bano at New Age Wrestling.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's why I met that.
Oh, okay. That's exactly where I was going to ask. So that's where you met those kids, and it kind of overflowed because this is right in Kevin Landry's Combine in Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Yep. So it's not too far away. So even I was surprised to see that same family, but that's why they were so hyped to see me, because they saw that 20-minute match against me in Alabama. So they already knew what I could bring to the table when I went and Shut Up and Wrestle.
Uh, First impressions, a Clipper. I've seen it in a couple different places. Tough and Talented from one. Uh,
I hate you, Vic.
Vinny.
I love you.
Yeah, Vinny is one guy. Antonio Bruno, he can f off. All to damn that Antonio Bruno, POS, Mob Squad, the whole effing 9 yards. To hell with them all. Okay, we'll just put that on the table first off. Vinny, that's a different cat. Love me some Vinny.
Yes, yes.
Tough and Talented. Whenever I seen Clipper coming to Tough and Talented, I knew first off Joey G was going to lose his absolute shit, and I was very stoked to see one Clipper was coming because Vinny has some familiar names, but then he likes to bring names that not everybody in our area in Connecticut, or maybe even some of the close surrounding areas, being Massachusetts and whatnot, bring to the table. So he kind of pulls, like Delilah Hayden. Love Delilah Hayden. She's out of Rhode Island. I've seen her a bunch of times, but I've driven to Rhode Island. She doesn't get much work in Connecticut.
Yeah.
But Vinny brings her in. Now she's our women's champion over at Tough and Talented.
Yeah.
So these little pieces, I like. I think that it's an extra little flavor for Tough and Talented.
Right.
But I was looking at some of the media. Again, I don't write nothing down and I don't research nothing, but I did happen to see some stuff on your page. The next Invictus show being August 28th, if I'm not correct, if that date is right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You're in what I believe is another 22-man scramble of some sort. I do jest. There's like 6 guys. Yeah, it's like a 6-man scramble, if you will. I do jest. It's like a 6-man scramble. Do you find yourself when you're in these multi-man or even multi-person, because some of the ladies are not afraid to throw down with the guys in these scrambles by any stretch. Do you find yourself, are these matches, because I'm not an athlete, I'm built like a candle. So are these the type of matches that you feel you have to prove yourself to, like, I want a spot in this company. They put me in this scramble kind of multi thing going on. This is where I prove myself, and I need this because I'm looking for the belt, or I'm looking for this, or I have a tag team partner in my sights that I'd like to bring up to a championship. Are these things proving kind of grounds to the athletes when you're in these scrambles, or how do you perceive these types of matches? And the only reason why I ask is because I've seen you in a few of them.
And which is funny, I'm going to segue a little bit to my very first wrestling match 2 years ago, April of 2020, right before the lockdown, as I go into Clinton, Massachusetts for a promotion called Lucky Pro Wrestling. They called me up, and what they wanted from me for my very first match was a 20-man battle royal. And as you said, you do have to bring a little bit of something to the table, because you got to understand, out of 20 people, if you're one of the first 5 to 10 people, you're most likely to get thrown out, like, by the later guys. Later guys are usually some of the bigger name talent that come out, except for Tough and Talented. If it's everybody starts at the same time, you have a little bit more of an edge. You can go outside and wait a little bit, hang out in the corner. But if it's like Royal Rumble style and you come out, you may not last that long. My first battle royal, I only lasted about 3 minutes, and I got tossed out. But the 3 minutes was enough for me to garner up some form of a fan base to go to other promotions. So you have to do a little bit. You don't have to throw Canadian destroyers or super kicks or out of there, but you gotta come out there with some stank, with some type of charisma, so that the crowd will remember you out of 20 other people and say, I want to go see this guy wrestle again.
Yes. Very well said. I entitle every single episode differently, and it's usually something that the talent has said to give it its own flavor. I think this one, you just said it right there. You got to come out with a little stank. We might Lil Stank, Lil. You got to come out with a little stank. I love it. Yes, my friend. Excellent title. Um, and Invictus, Alex over there. Oh my God, he's such a good dude. Some of the promoters that I've met, a little stuffy, a little businessy, if you
Yep.
will. But then there are other promoters. They're a little either they're ex wrestlers or even active wrestlers. Speaking of one Slick Wagner Brown and Tessa Strength, I mean, um, but then you have that flip side of the stuffy business professional side of it, where you get the ex wrestler or active wrestler or someone that's really been associated with the business or something like that. Um, eh, Alex, I don't know what I know he's probably not an ex wrestler, and I know he's been on this show, and I've never asked him that question, but I'm just assuming that
Right.
he's not an ex wrestler. But what a really, really good dude. And I see him put on some good shows with a lot of good talent. Never heard a bad word, no buzz, no drama, no politics, no backroom bullshit. No, Alex is just one of those good ones, Mr. Jones. You have to agree with me on that, yes?
I can agree because I'm not gonna say much because I don't know how much Alex wants me to talk about his personal life
No, no.
outside of wrestling.
Yeah, no,
But
no, no.
all I'm gonna say is I personally known Alex before Invictus Pro Wrestling,
Oh,
and when he came to me when he was starting up the promotion, he was giving me the whole rundown of how he wants the promotion to run, how he wants it to be a feeder system for younger talent, similar to Vinny's promotion to, Tough and Talented Pro Wrestling, have a couple veterans on the side, and essentially just put on some good wrestling. And I can honestly say, without Alex and Invictus Pro Wrestling, there definitely would not be a Clipper Jones, because after my first match of April 2020, there was this thing called a lockdown where I couldn't wrestle in the state of Connecticut. So he was kind enough to give me work down in New Jersey. So I was wrestling the majority of my first year in New Jersey, and that's where I met Joey G. That's where I built my fan base. That's where I became Clipper Jones.
very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that tidbit. These are the things, boys and girls. Like I said, we won't hear this kind of stuff at the old merch tables, getting the old 8x10 or grabbing a shirt or whatnot. Um, so let's kind of sift back a little, because again, I don't write nothing down. You just take this ride with me, Clipper. We'll have some fun. Uh, I did notice right on the old face page, I see Team 3D Academy over there. Talk to us about what's going on with your training and all of that. That's where you originally started, or where was the training at?
So the training for me, has always been at Team 3D Academy in Danbury, Connecticut. I was originally going to go to a wrestling school called PWA, Pro Wrestling Academy, in Cheshire, Connecticut.
I used to go there all the time.
Yep,
I
that
love
was.
PWA.
Obviously, things didn't really work out. I just happened to go to a NEW show with my friend before he went down to Texas. It was about his last month, and he said, "You want to go to a wrestling show?" Because he was going to wrestling shows all the time, but I had never went with him before. So I went to an NEW show. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I do remember it was in Waterbury. It was in Waterbury. Um, I went to the tables during the intermission before the show started, right where they had former WWE talent. So the WWE talent that was there that day just happened to be Christian Cage, and Corey Graves.
Okay.
So I'm just a regular fan, just buying a shirt, getting some 8x10s. And Christian, he asked a question, it was a little bit more talk than usual, just like, hey, how's it going? It was like, how do you see your future? And I was just thinking to myself, like, at the time, I was just in college, didn't really have anything going on. I was just this is when I was 22 at the time. I'm pushing 30 now. But he came up and said, I went up to him and I asked, like, how do I do what you do? Because I didn't understand that there was so many wrestling schools around. There was there's Test Strength Academy, Pro Res PWA. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything at the time. And he says, I think Bubba Ray had just opened up a school here. And, me click, going on Twitter, looking at, and I found Team 3D Academy just opened up Danbury. So I sent an email and, hey, how do I join? I want to do something with my life. I get an email like less than a day later saying, just come on down and we'll have a meeting. And this was about 6 months after I got my first car. And I'd never been to Danbury before. So driving down there, I gotta say I got lost about 3 times. But, eventually I had got at the school, opened up the door. I was the first, I gotta dial it back a little bit. The first gym I went to was not the school. So I see a bunch of CrossFit trainers, doing pull-ups, deadlifts, backflips, all this Ninja Warrior BS. And I go in and I go to the clerk and she's like, hey, you looking to join? I was like, hell yeah, I'm looking to join. You're not thinking it's Team 3 Academy. And she goes, this isn't a wrestling school. And I say, excuse me? She's like, no, this is a CrossFit gym. So I immediately learned, like, the gym is about an 8-minute drive that way. So I'm assuming because I told Bubba I would be there at 6 o'clock. It was about 7 at that point. I finally get there. Yeah. I look through the door. I see, Velvet Sky because at the time, I see Velvet. I open the door. She says, are you Jordan? And I hear this deep voice all the way down because the old gym, we moved. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna explain that later. We go down the hall. I hear Jordan. And I'm looking, I see this gigantic figure down the hall, just menacingly waiting for me to enter. I'm like, this is before I started working out. So you see this skinny young kid just, yes. And he says, get in my office. And, we sit down and that's when we had a talk and the rest is history. Now it's Clipper Jones.
Yes. They say, obviously, some of the best schools, when you're looking for a school, they say that you should be looking for someone that's literally been in the business for a while, that came out of the business and has something established that they're doing. Maybe not someone per se who is an active indie wrestler of maybe 5-6 years and they're training now, run a school or something. You want somebody established. And I've heard the trainers' names throughout every interview I've ever done, and the likes of Johnny Rods, the likes of Bubba Ray, the likes of Paul Roma, the likes of Slick Wagner Brown. They just, you know what I'm saying? Like Pat Buck. They just keep coming up and up and up. So you came up in a really good, and they weren't around very long when you joined, because obviously this one in Danbury is not very old in its own.
No, it's only at least, let's see, I joined about, this is going on my 4th year of being I've been an active worker for 2 years, but I started 4 years ago. That gives you, insight of how long how long it takes to actually start, getting ring work, leaving the flock once you officially join that school from Jump Street. Because I'm just going to say right now, there's a lot of people's favorite wrestlers in this area that go to that school starting now because of the reputation that it has. But when you start there with no wrestling background, it takes a long time to get ring work. Not because it's hard to find, because as you know, there's a lot of promotions in this area. The coaches at that school do not want you to make them look bad. So it makes sense too, because if you go out there and you act a fool, who are they going to say? Who the promoter going to look at? That's going to be bad for not just you, but your brothers in arms that you're training with, because they're going to say, if you made an ass out of yourself, who else from that school is going to make an ass out of himself? So what they do is they drill into your brain for a year. This is how you lock up. This is how you properly get in the ring. Make sure you wipe your feet when you get in the ring. Basic stuff like that. And once you get all that down, then you're good to go.
The blessing from the trainers. It's a very big thing in the etiquette, if you will, of, moving on and doing your thing. And that's not, it's not practiced by everybody. A guy like Bully Ray and the association that he keeps down at the Team 3D. I'm going to pull out one student that's from their, student. We have to use that word because you're always a student of the game, as they say. But Wrecking Ball Legursky doing a he's been doing one hellified job for himself in his career with the transformation of his physical being, of his training, joining that Team 3D Academy, and really changing the way he looks in the ring, works in the ring, maybe speaks. It only takes a little couple things to really change, to elevate your stock, as they say, So him coming out of Team 3D, and I've seen him at NEW for a while, and I love seeing him over there. He's always shining over there. The crowd is always behind, except when he had that moment in time with that damn stupid ass Jared Silverkite. Oh, I hate that little bastard. Excuse me, sorry. But seeing Wrecking Ball transform and such, and doing his thing, and not only that, getting into NWA, signing on the dotted line, and being part of their roster on a regular basis, may it be on the YouTube show that they do with, is it Power Hour or something like that? And just anything that they do, he's been part of right now, and he's still invited to many of the higher looking upper promotions in our area.
Yes.
But I just wanted to pull Wrecking Ball Legursky out of there because I know he is a student out of the Team 3D, and I'm sure 100%, obviously by the Smash, you are very familiar with one Wrecking Ball, and he's been on some shows that you've been on as well.
Yes. And I gotta just say that once again, I know I keep listening to all these people and saying without X, there wouldn't be a Clipper Jones. But I gotta say, without Wrecking Ball Legursky, there may have not been a Clipper Jones, because he was my very first singles competitor. And, we had that, he had him go up to Alex and say, I want to face Clipper Jones. And when nobody knew who Clipper Jones was, and I thought that was pretty sick, even though I had to face, a 6 foot tall, almost damn near 400-pound giant, but it was a really good experience to go toe to toe with somebody who has all these promotions, under his belt. But still, may I say, I know he doesn't like us talking about him that much, but somebody that has all these promotions still flies down south to meet every NWA pay-per-view and still comes to class every week. That's Wrecking Ball Legursky. Still comes to class every week to hone his craft. Training students.
It's the want, it's the want and the push, the drive. It's the want and the drive there, especially with Legursky, former football player. He's spoken about it many a time, out of Southington and whatnot, and probably beyond. But man, great talent. Love seeing him doing his thing. Really, really elevating his stock and getting out there on NWA on the reg, man. I love seeing it. Him and Jay Bradley as the fixers. Whew, what a couple of holy shit, big giant MFers them guys are. Oh my God, the fixers indeed they are. Boys and girls, I'm sure you know of one Brecken Gursky. If you know myself and some of the promotions that I frequent, you know Brecken Gursky. And if you're not seeing him on the NWA programming, you got to check that stuff out. Now, I want to get into the local barber. Where are we at with this thing? Because you come out, and even on your face page there, face page, I love that. But even on your face page, it says, I had to read it twice because I really thought it said hose down. But it says foes down and clippers up. Where are we at with the local barber, the Clipper Jones? Is that your given name on your birth certificate? You don't have to tell if it isn't. That's okay. You don't want creepers like me looking your address up. You don't want none of that. So where does the local barber, the Clipper Jones, take us on a journey of where this comes from?
So it started around early around the pandemic. Everything, was shut down, and no barbershops were available. I have a lot of hair. I need things to tend to. So, what I started doing is it started with just me. I started cutting my own hair, which I still do to this day. I started learning from one of my best friends, God rest his soul. He passed on last year, but went to his house. He showed me because he used to cut hair down in Florida. So he taught me the tricks and trades of basically how to cut. So now, even though I don't have an official shop, maybe, I'm still young. I still got, time down the road. A bunch of barbers, come up to me and say, hey, we know you're a wrestler. We know you're all about being a local barber. Why don't you get some merch out, 8x10s, and sell it in our shop? They want to sell my merch in their shop, and that's definitely going to happen eventually. I just have to get, everything situated. But in the Hartford area, there's actually going to be barbershops that sell Clipper Jones merch, which is pretty
cool.
Which is really cool. That is true. And the whole clips up, foes down moniker was not actually made by me, but it's the ring, so I use it. But one of my good buddies, which because you go to NEW, one by named Gio Galvano.
Yes.
Yeah. We were really close at Team 3D because we're the same age, we're the same height. We got big smiles and we big charisma, so we just stuck like glue. But I used to always come in with the gimmick, clips up. So he did take the whole pips up, hose down, and he's flipped it around one day. And he said, how about clips up, foes down? And I said, holy cow, that rings. And he said, yeah, you're going to use that, aren't you? And I said, yeah, you're right.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Good stuff. Clipper Jones, was that a name that you derived on your own? Did you have a little collaboration with someone, or?
That name was a collaboration of both me and, once again, Gio Galvano. Because originally, when I first came out, it was just the Clipper. I was gonna have like some type of assassin type gimmick, like where I was gonna, beat down on people and clip them. Because there was a show a couple of years back that I just loved called Into the Badlands on AMC. So they had the Clippers that had the tattoos all over their body, and every time they clipped somebody, killed them, they would get a tattoo marking that they killed them. So what I was going to eventually do was everybody I beat, I was going to do the same thing and get it marking on me. But once I realized how expensive that would have been, I went with Gio's idea. And because every time I would go to the school, he started going, Clipper Jones. And I said, why are you saying that? And he said, oh, it just rings. And I said, you know what? It does ring. So I started going by Clipper Jones, and it just rings. Because what I didn't know, there's a popular Major League Baseball legend named Chipper Jones, which people tend to confuse me with. But hey, I'll take the free publicity all the time. You know?
uh, I love the stories where it's collaborations, maybe a peer, a spouse, or whatever. But I almost feel it's a little bit more special when it's the peers that help you out because they're willing to help you elevate your game. They want to see you stride and do well. I love hearing that stuff because I mean, there's just like in any walks of life, not everybody wants to see you succeed, and I love hearing those stories of the peers really helping out a friend and a brother like that. That's great stuff. I love that. The fan base. Let's talk about because you've really only been out on the scene live for 2 years, and at this point, what I see every show that I've seen you, the crowd is entirely behind you. You make a connection as soon as you come through that door, curtain, ramp. The music starts. They know who Clipper is already. That connection between fan and wrestler, I always want to know. When did you feel that actually, that spark, that first time? Did you feel at any given time in your career? And it's so short, and you've already got that connection. That's so amazing, man. But was there a point in your career where you felt it, or a specific event or anything like that? And you're like, you know what? This is what they talk about right there.
I honestly can't tell you what the connection is because I see it. Other than my very first match it was a battle royal. I didn't have that much time. I didn't have the music. I didn't have a theme song. I was just had to run out there and get my ass whooped for like 3 minutes. But the next show, Invictus, every show I've had somebody like Joey G in my corner that would cheer me on regardless of what it is. But what I can tell you is most promoters pick up on that. And I've heard from at least 3 so far, again, telling me, kid, you don't know what you have in you. Because when I'm out there putting on a show, cheering on the fans, that's not, my character. That's just me being me. That's just my thing. I've always been a people person. So when I go out, I'm talking to the fans, I'm putting on a show, being a clown. That's just who I am. That's how I've always been. That's what I'm always going to be. So if that equates to charisma, then I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying?
The bad guy, heel, the good guy, baby face. I bring the question up, especially if talent has done both in their career, which they like doing best. But you seem to have this natural good guy, that the smile, the look. You're beautiful. I mean, holy shit, you look gorgeous. So when you come through that curtain, it just seems like it's natural to be the good guy right now in your career, and it seems to be really, really working very well for you. Again, with that connection with the fans, and that's what you want. And in turn, that sells the merch. That makes people want to do your thing when you come out. They want to say, Clipper. They want to do stuff like that. So I just feel it's more of a natural thing. Has anybody approached you as a promoter? Because some promoters want to do the old flipperoo on the talents because maybe they need somebody. Have you ever had to do the bad guy situation yet?
I've been on 2 promotions so far where I was told the word heel. And they asked me, like, do you have an issue with working heel? I told them I don't have an issue working in general. If you want me to be a heel, I'm not going to say no because I have gear specifically in my gear bag if I have to work heel at the time because it's not about me. It's about the business. If the business requires me to be heel, I'm going to be heel. The problem with that is, once again, you said my smile is when I come out. Even when I'm, laughing maniacally, there's people in the crowd, we still love you. You know what I'm saying? So it's very rare you get to see me heel. There was one time in Invictus where being a heel worked correctly, and it's because it came out of nowhere and they didn't see it coming. And that was against, once again, Gio Galvano.
Oh,
And what happened was it was a gauntlet match for his GSW Next Gen Championship. Beautiful belt, may I say.
yeah.
Comes out, says I'm throwing an open challenge. First opponent was Prince Ahmed. He came out, wrestled Gio for about 3 to 5 minutes. Gio gets the bulldog, takes him out. I don't even think it was a bulldog. It was one of his signature moves because he hit all of us with a signature move. Then he hit me with the bulldog, of course. But the next opponent was New York talent, Max Zero. Uh, wrestled with him for about 35 minutes, took him out. He goes out. Nobody knows who the third guy. We let it sink in for a while. Like, who's the third guy? Who's the third guy? And that's when I introduced my new song that I use for Invictus, which is a remix of "Hit the Road Jack" with Ray Charles. That starts going off. Music starts to it, and people don't know who it is. As soon as I come out, roof goes crazy. Everybody's going, "Oh my God, it's Clipper Jones! Somebody shoot me!" They're going out. This can't be real. Get in the ring. We shake hands, lock up a little bit. Do a little bit of chaining. He gets the best of me, and eventually, out of nowhere, I pull his hair, throw him down. He get everybody. Yeah, you hear me? Like, did he just do that? Clipper Jones. And, which is funny because that show I wrestled in all black, and people still couldn't see it coming that this wasn't going to be a happy-go-lucky Clipper Jones. But after that, Gio gets in my face, goes, "What the hell, man?" Pie face him, and then we do baby versus heel.
Oh, wow. The old frustration building
Yep.
up in one Clipper Jones, if you will.
But then after the match, I hugged him. So
um, it looks like you personally, as an athlete, a performer, however you perceive, however you guys. I don't even know what to call you guys anymore. I usually start with an athlete because of the way when I was growing up, because I started watching when I was, and I started watching in the 70s. So that's my age showing. And that was a different era. Obviously, it's a different era. It's a different mindset. It's a different way wrestling was and was perceived and presented. Very because have so many years in between, but that mentality still sticks down the line through the lineage as you're talking about always have that gear ready. I have multi-gear for heel face. I'm always ready, kind of thing. Getting in that full work of a couple years, getting the blessing of the trainer, wiping the feet. And I'm sure there's many things we could just keep going through a laundry list of the lineage that has gone down through the years and the eras of wrestling. And I loved when you were speaking about that because that's all I was thinking was way back when. And just the way their etiquette when they were bringing everything up and whatnot. Traveling is kind of as much as you have in your 2-year career right now. Getting into multiple promotions, getting these networking things rolling along, making more of a fan base, promoters throughout your social medias and getting bookings and so forth. You are just seems like you're having probably some of the most fun that I've seen some of many wrestlers out there right now having. Again, you're always smiling. You're always with us. We're always with you. I've never really seen Clipper. You may have seen yourself having a bad match, maybe, but we don't see Clipper having bad matches. We see him having a good time out there. having a great time in wrestling, because once you get in these little quirky things with wrestling, it's kind of thing. But you look like you're having 1000% fun.
Of course. For the most part, in my 2 year career, there's only been a few minor instances where I could say like, "Hey, I could have done better," but it's never to the point where I'm gonna tell myself, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore." It's more of a I'm gonna take it as a learning experience and try not to do it again type of experience. For example, a couple of months back, me and one of my other buddies at the school had a tag team match against. It was a mixed tag team match, by the way. My first mixed tag team match, by the way. My only mixed tag team match. Yeah, we hopefully can have more down the road. But anyway, one of the students, I'm not gonna list their names because I'm not trying to throw heat on anybody. Of course not.
No.
Uh, One of the students didn't tell us until after the match had already happened that she only had about 4 to 6 months of training and wasn't really ring ready per se. Uh, so we're going down the match, and it comes down to what the finish is going to be. So obviously one of her trainers in the match, wanted to go down a waterfall finish because the waterfall finish is one of the easiest finishes to do because it's one person gets their finisher in, next person gets their finisher in, third person gets finisher in, last person gets their finisher in, and just ends the match right there. Just calls it the end of the day. It's a good way. It's an easy way, where you to work with somebody you've never worked with before. But the reason why she wanted to do that was because this person only had about 4 to 6 months of training and couldn't really, get down and dirty the way that a lot of us other wrestlers do. So it's just a good way to, get her some fans, give her the first experience in front of a crowd. I understand all that, but it would have been a lot better if, if they explained it to us, you know, earlier in the show and, before the match had taken place, even in front of the crowd. But um it took a while, because they had forgotten their finish. And I realized that about 5 minutes before the match started was like, "Hey, you ready for the finish?" And they go, "What's the finish?" Yeah. And I'm like, "It's your finisher." And then they go, I have a finisher? And I have to go in with them, and I get tagged in, and I go, and they just freeze like this. The eyes are like this wide, like nothing there. And I start to see that. I grab them and I pull them, and I'm like,
Oh my
"Do
God.
something, please hit me with something, put me out, put me out of my misery." And they finally give me X Factor, go for the pin. Um, Her trainer was like, she thought I was going to kick out and go for the show. But what I was trained to do, when worst comes to worst, you go straight to the finish because you can't do no more worse. So what I did was I just sat there, rep 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm selling. I started rolling around outside the ring, roll around the crowd, get the crowd to go, ha, 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 get the focus away from her. Let her, raise her hand up in the air, get a little bit more confidence in herself. So drags me away and call it a day. And I was a heel that show, and I still signed autographs after,
That is some things I have seen over the years is, obviously it's not all, maybe not even many, but there are a couple that will get out there. They'll hang out at the merch tables, and the kids are not afraid to go up there. And uh, I'll even use one even some time back, and it was a different time. Purdy Curdy, the now ring announcer for NEW. Purdy Curdy, that guy would come out, and every single person would boo him like it was Jared Silverkite. I swear, he was so hated when he was in wrestling. Intermission Clipper, he was probably one of the most busiest guys with kids surrounding him, wanting his autograph on his picture. It was just absolutely uncanny. But I have definitely seen, besides him, so they are out there. But even nowadays, though, the modern fan that has changed with modern wrestling, not every heel gets booed. They get cheered because of the good shit that they can do in the ring. And it's not even being about a bad guy or good guy anymore. Sometimes, just, not all the time, but sometimes the heel is cheered where, again, sometimes the good guy comes out and he's being booed because Clipper is being the heel and he already has some kind of a fan base or whatever, or people like you're wrestling better than X wrestler that has just come through the curtain, and it flip flops without your control at all. And the only reason why I bring that up is because of the evolution of wrestling. Where did you start watching wrestling and really getting that fever and kind of knowing what you wanted to do in wrestling?
So wrestling has kind of been in my family my whole life. I grew up in a daycare from my grandmother. She wanted to start a daycare, because she wanted to start buying her own stuff. She was a stay-at-home wife originally. She had extra work, but she wanted more work. So she opened up a daycare with me and my cousins at first, and then became a whole generation of kids. But most of my older cousins in daycare, they loved pro wrestling. Back in 1998 WCW. That's the funny thing. I had one cousin that loved WCW, and then I had another cousin that loved WWF, and so one day, they're fighting over the TV. I want to watch, going on Nitro, Monday Night Raw. So I I grew up with both. So when, you see fans going like, I like WWE better, I like AEW better. I never had that mindset ever. Like, I would always want to see more wrestling. So even when WCW went down, when ECW went down, I started watching Impact Wrestling. I started finding out Ring of Honor and down the road, New Japan, and I just started going down the line. So I always like the different cultures that the promotions bring to the table. You know how some have lucha libre, some have strong style, and what have you. So 1998, I would say, like right around, when I was like about 4 years old, was when I really started to get into pro wrestling. And further down, like I always just watched multiple emotions. I actually had, Bubba, laughing one day because he had asked a question in school where he had asked who was the most successful heel in Impact Wrestling history. And, I was just laughing. And he said, don't you? And I was like, he said, who was it? And I was like, it was you. And he said, yep, good answer. Because from 2002 to now, I still watch Impact Wrestling, but I've always been a big fan of not just WWE, but the other promotions surrounding it. That's just what fits my fancy, as you may say.
So that eliminates a question of, do you watch the current product because you seemingly are one of those guys? Because some, I don't know how to take it at times, but some just kind of get into a thing where they don't watch the current product, or they might keep an eye on some of the indies, but you're one of those guys that he's watching the current product pretty regularly.
Yeah, I hear a lot of guys, and they tell me how can you watch the current product? It's so bad. And I'm like, well, which current product are you talking about? Are you talking about WWE? Are you talking about Ring of Honor? Are you talking about Impact? Are you talking about MLW? Are you talking about AAA? Are you talking about New Japan? And I just keep going down the list. And they're like, I'm talking about that as a whole. I'm like, you got over so many promotions, and you're saying that none of them fancy. They all do the same thing. Yeah, they all just do flippy, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I was watching NXT UK and I would see like 2 flips. I said, I feel like there's a promotion out there for everybody, even today. And the matches are not going to be as basic as they were back then, because let's face it, there's new moves now that everybody can see, because wrestling has been around for so long that people have to bring certain things to the table. I mean, Brock Lesnar just flipped the freaking ring with a tractor on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So there's something out there for everybody. That's all I'm going to say.
It's like Brock Lesnar flipped a wrestling ring with a tractor. Who? I mean, not that anybody would ever think you're going to bring a beer truck or, you know, a milk a milk truck with a fucking fire hose with milk coming out of it or any of that. But a tractor, and not only that, but basically flip the flipping ring. I mean, holy crap, dude. Um, oh man, we lost our minds as a family because we didn't get to watch it Saturday night because we went to go see my love Cindy. She was down at oh, see, I lose my mind here. Coliseum Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
And out in West Haven. This was their second show. I missed their debut show, but I caught their second one. But we were there Saturday, so we caught it Sunday, and we were watching it in the morning. And whenever Brock got in that thing and dumped Roman Reigns in the ring, we thought that was all he was going to do with the tractor. Yeah. But whenever he got back in that damn thing and not only bumped it and moved the entire ring, I looked at my family and I go, what the F is he doing? What is going on right now? But then whenever he got a little lower and dipped it in and really dug into it and got under the ring, we lost our ever-loving minds. You're still that much of a wrestling fan where you lose your shit and you pop and you get excited for these things, Clipper Jones. I know you are, right?
Of course. I still watch wrestling again regularly to this day. So Raw, SmackDown. When I'm not, working a show or at class or at work, I try my very best to catch every show I can. Still paying, legally, mind you, for all these promotions that are out there, and just showing support. Sometimes it's my friends at school. Sometimes they have a pay-per-view that's on Fight TV. I'll even buy their show because I will want the same to me. If I'm gonna be on pay-per-view, which I have been, I'm gonna want somebody to pay for my show my support, and just be there. You may not be a big wrestling fan, but it's somebody you've known for years that you may have, go on a drink with, you go hang out at the arcade with. Just show some love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. The IPPV here, IWTV is something I think that is probably elevated and gotten so many more eyes that would never have seen. That's part of that social media thing. But this is a very cool platform, IWTV. And I know you've been on more than one at this point in your career. What a crazy... I mean, who would have ever thought you could get like 300 plus promotions, one-stop shop for $10 a month, yeah. IWTV, that's the place. And not only that, you get to watch the live stuff, being Beyond and Limitless, and there's other promotions that will run their stuff live when they're happening and whatnot. Clipper Jones, what a platform that is for you guys and girls.
Mm-hmm. It's most wrestlers' dreams. There's about 3 big dreams. Like, everybody has a step by step. Everybody wants to be on WWE. Everybody wants to be a champion. Everybody wants to be on pay-per-view. That part just got so much easier since you get over 30,000 different promotions. at the tip of your fingers for 99. Yeah, all these. It doesn't matter which promotion. It doesn't matter which state you're in. This promotion that you go to may have a deal with IWTV, and you can tell your family members like, "Hey, you got $10 to spare. You get to watch me on TV in front of maybe 30 people, maybe 300 people, maybe 3,000 people. Just pay $10 and you'll find out.
And that's for the whole month, boys and girls. If you're not aware of IWTV, you can literally just Google those 4 letters, IWTV. It'll bring you right to their page, Independent Wrestling TV. Excuse me. And it's $9.99, but that's for a month's worth. It's a subscription thing, but it's just like having the old the old network, if you will, for whatever it was, $9.99. But it's a multitude of promotions across the country, across the globe at this point that are under the umbrella, I should say, of IWTV, that put their media on there. And not only that, I had the owner of Proving Ground, excuse me, the owner of Proving Ground, Todd Graham, himself, he signed his IWTV contract right here on a Sunday morning on STP. It was absolutely amazing. I was so honored that he did that. So the IWTV platform, absolutely, just I think is a godsend for many of the upcoming wrestlers right now, because man, but I kind of wanted to get into a couple other promotions here, because here's something that I've never seen before, and it happened to be following your page. Never Quit Wrestling, NQW. Is this something brand new? Is it something upcoming? Could you tell us something about this?
So I've been talking with Philip, who's the owner of NQW, for what's been about a month now. The first show was supposed to be last month in July. We're working. He's currently working out the kinks to the promotion, but we're looking for our first official date for it's going to be late October, but he is hosting a unpaid, not really, it's more of a charity show, just to get the show started, letting people know that Never Quit Wrestling is going to be a thing. But the issue I explained to him is that it's going to be on August 28th. So the show is going to be rocking and rolling, but sadly I can't be there because I'm going to be at Invictus in New Jersey. So what I'm telling people is, if you happen to be in the Massachusetts area, I'll post whatever he needs from me, to help promote the show, to let people know that they can go watch some wrestling, because there's going to be a lot of people that I work with that are going to be on the show. I don't know all the names of the people on the show, but for one, I know everybody knows American Kid. I know American Kid. American Kid's going to be with Never Quit Wrestling. So it's a lot of mass talent, a lot of Connecticut talent. Everybody in this area, he reached out to. So we're looking to help make another promotion happen. So I told him, my bookings are getting a little hectic lately, but whatever day I have free, I'm going to help, work for Never Quit Wrestling. Along with myself and one of the other students at Team 3 Academy, which you probably heard of, the powerful one, Ken Powers.
Oh yes. I wanted to reach out to Mr. Powers, but before I knew it, all my dates for this week were totally blown up, and I'm like, what the hell? I was supposed to have 2 days open here. Okay, well, and then I was going to skip a week, but we're going to do fan week. I want to get some fans on here. We'll have some fun with the fans. And then I'm thinking about the 3rd week of August, I'm going to start filling. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, Mr. Jones. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I want to get Mr. Powers on here, definitely. Thank you for mentioning him, because it's a good reminder for me. I only have one brain cell left. Thank you for all the information that you gave us for Never Quit Wrestling, because it kind of got my curiosity, because I've never heard of them before. And if I wasn't mistaken, this upcoming date that I saw was going to be their first show. So I'll have to look them up, do the old follow thing, and check out what they got going on over there. We've been talking for about hour and 10 minutes right now. And there's a couple things that I'd kind of like to talk about, if you don't mind, just a couple more topics.
Oh, shoot. No, I'm like I said, I don't stop until I drop dead. So
we've spoken of Tough and Talented Wrestling out of Torrington, Connecticut. They run out of the Columbia Club normally, and they have another one coming up in September. I want to say it's the 10th, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I bring this up because over the course of the last couple, maybe few shows, Mr. Jones has been in there doing his thing. In the interim, one of my faves, one of my guys, because Test of Strength is my home base. One Ryan Frost. In the interim, Ryan Frost has become the first ever Tough and Talented U.S. champion over there at Tough and Talented. It was a beautiful sight for us. God, it was beautiful. But I digress. Then we move on a couple shows. They gave us some storylines along with other of the talent, gave us something to bite on, something to come back and want to see, bringing us some good talent, bringing us some good storylines. But one of them being our local barber here. He's been put in a couple things as we were speaking, some six-mans and if you will, some other things. With all of that culminating up until September 10th, Tough and Talented, see if I get this right, 152 Litchfield Street, Torrington, Connecticut, the Columbia Club. Look them up. You don't want to miss this one. My man, our guest tonight, the local barber, gets his shot at the current, how do they do it? The defending U.S. champion for Tough and Talented, one Ryan Frost. I do love me some Ryan Frost, but now here we go. Number one contender is Clipper Jones. You have that opportunity to win some gold. With all of my yakking, sorry, that I just did, first thing, what a hell of a story that has culminated. Please talk to us about that. Second, is this your first taste of gold, my man?
So this will be my very first championship that I have won if I, am able to take down Ryan Frost. He's a little on the larger side, I'm going to say. My very first championship match was about 2 years ago against Gio Galvano, again in that gauntlet match. Even though it was a gauntlet match, but all three matches were for his GSW Next Gen Championship. But I haven't had another title match since then, other than the first 2TW show, which was a triple threat match for the 2TW Heavyweight Championship. Me, myself. There's the current champion, Little Greatness, as well as what is that? Adrian Fine. Oh yeah, how can I forget him? He's the reason why I lost. So, but yes, this is my first title match since that show, and I was speaking with Ryan, and we got into it a little bit, but we both got around the same fan base. He has a Frost Force, I have my crew. They don't have a name, but it's the Jones Squad. Okay, we're gonna go with the Jones Squad. We got the Jones Squad.
The Clipper Crew.
The Clipper Crew. I got my listeners with me. Yeah. We have around the same fan base, so we were talking. He said, this is gonna be very, interesting, and it's also cool. Let me add a little bit more interest to the mix that a lot of people don't know, but Bubba Ray Dudley isn't, Bully Ray isn't my only trainer in this, in this life, whole circle of life of wrestling. My main trainer happens to be Platinum Playboy Randy Shawn.
Oh shit. Well,
Yeah,
Jay Buster himself. Jay Buster himself. I feel a few things. When you guys, and it might be before the bell rings or it might be immediately after the bell rings, I could put, I don't know, $1.3 trillion on that crowd at Tough and Talented is going to chant both these guys. It's going to happen before the bell rings or it's going to happen immediately after. But I'm telling you, Mr. Jones, that is definitely going to happen because of, like you're saying, the the fan base. We love us some both Mr. Jones and we love us some Mr. Frost. Now, we were talking a little frustration earlier, setting in on one Clipper Jones. And we can't tell the future, but you had to mention Randy Jay Busta for some reason. I'm gonna be keeping my eyes close on you, Mr. Jones, mighty close on you, when it is the local barber Clipper Jones going up against Mono E Mono, big dude, the current defending reigning champion, U.S. Tough and Talented champion Ryan Frost. That is going to be a banger, a slobber knocker, a barn burner, all mixed into one. I know I gave you guys the deets with the address and all of that. Look them up if you haven't heard of them. Not much money. Come out and check out some really good wrestling, a lot of fun. The fans are behind our faves. We love to boo the guys that we don't like. It's a really good time over at Tough and Talented. I know you're looking forward to that match yourself, my friend.
It'll be action packed, Don. May I say so myself? And
Yes.
I'm not gonna try anything dirty, obviously, because you know who I am. I feel like Ryan Frost isn't gonna try anything dirty because we all know his, reputation for how he is. It's gonna be a nice, clean match. But I like to say that I listed, Platinum Playboy Randy Shawn because he has taught me a couple things on, having that drive for a championship. I've had 2 chances to win other championships. I've had a chance to win the world championship of Tough and Talented Wrestling. And I'm not discrediting the United States Championship one bit. I'm just saying that your local barber is very hungry for gold and will do anything within reason to finally, get his first chance at gold against the one Ryan Frost, because your local barber needs some gold around his waist at this point.
All right. The footage will have to hold you to those words because even if I'm looking through the lens, my friend, I can see when the frustration sets in and then things take a turn. Not always for the best. So that's going to be good times, good times. Another thing I wanted to ask before we let you go is, I know you've had a very short tenure right here in your career, and you have a very bright future ahead of you. I like to maybe pull stories out of our talents before we leave. May it be on the road. May it be, you've said you've been down at Academy 3D there for a little bit, more than a couple minutes. Is there any whimsical story that you could tell us, the fans, share with us? It could be legal. It could be illegal. Well, maybe not illegal. It could be whatever kind of comes to mind. Like I said, it could be a road story. It could be anything that comes to mind in your career so far, may it be from the beginning until now, that you could share with us, the fans?
Uh, Let me see. What stories have I not told you so far? Ah, yes, I am chock full of stories. So
Yes.
you're gonna love this. So when I first joined the school was a co-unit. So it was called Team 3D Academy, but the school was also owned by none other than one Tommy Dreamer. So we would, train at the school, go down to Philadelphia and help him for House of Hardcore Wrestling. At that time, I was not a wrestler. I was a referee.
Oh.
So, a lot of shows that I worked with, I was able to ref a lot of people. The you know Impact Knockouts champion Tasha Steeles, I ref the match with her. There was I forget her name in NXT at the moment, but she went by Karen Q.
Oh.
Yeah, Karen Chu. Karen Chu. Yeah. Yes. I refed a match with her. I refed a match with Jordan Oliver from MLW. And last but not least, I was able to ref a match with Tommy Dreamer himself, with Scott Gordon Patterson from Gilmore Girls in his corner as his manager in Philadelphia.
Wow. That's at the House of Hardcore you were speaking of, correct?
Yes, because just like how Vinny has his show, in Torrington, Alex has his show with Invictus. House of Hardcore was established in the House of Hardcore. It didn't have an official name yet, but Tommy was hosting House of Hardcore shows and basically comic book conventions,
Okay.
similar to the comic book. Well, what is it? It's CCW in Hartford,
Yeah.
Connecticut. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was that same premise. How he would go to different conventions and host House of Hardcore in there, and it would be for us, the students, along with other students from surrounding promotions. It was
Mm.
pretty cool. Pretty cool. I miss it.
I spoke with last week. I spoke with on Wednesday, Ref Gina, Blue Shoes. We love her to pieces. And then on Friday, well, I can't skip them because they'll kill me. Thursday, we spoke to the guy, Jack Dalton. But then on Friday, we spoke to Skylar Gray. Now, Ref Gina obviously worked over at CCW all the whole 3 day weekend. There was one, two, three, four. I believe there was 5 shows total in the 3 day weekend. And
Okay.
Skylar Gray, she was Black Canary, and that was her first time being at the CCW, being only the second show for CCW at this time.
Right.
And boys and girls, it's Cosplay Championship Wrestling. I just want to put it out there. They bring comic book characters, video game characters, anime characters. They bring them to life, and they put them in a 6-sided ring at the Kineticon for 3 days. I had a pass, but my transmission took a shitter, and I had to spend a bunch of money that I didn't have. Well, I had to borrow a bunch of money I didn't have. How about that one? But anywho, that really put a wrench in my fucking weekend. That really sucked. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have fun, but that really pissed me off. But anyways, I missed the entire weekend. But I did speak to those two talents that were legitimately there. And again, Black Canary, she worked all 3 days of that weekend as well. She said it was some of the most amazing one of the most amazing times she's ever had in wrestling and just in life. And she can't wait to do it again. And I go, well, because CCW, when they call you up, I asked her, did they give you a character or did you pick it? She goes, no, they gave me a character, and I really wasn't familiar with it, so I looked it up and I ran with it, and the crowd absolutely ran with me doing it. And I'm like, F yeah, awesome. So I asked her if she would pick a different character. She goes, no, I absolutely love doing the Black Canary because of that connection she made with the fans, Um, CCW, Cosplay Championship Wrestling. Hypothetically, uh, you get on next year's show, Clipper Jones, a local barber. What character would you want to portray at CCW?
So I've been going to Kineticon since before I even became a wrestler. So your local barber is also a local nerd. So as it will. So out of all the characters that I've grown up with, I've wanted to play as, Michael B. Jordan himself, Eric B. Killmonger from the Black Panther Marvel. So, because I kind of got the hair for it, I got the build for it, and I feel like it would bring up some pretty good stories to play as Killmonger at CCW. If they pick anybody else, I just want to be there. But if I had the choice to play as anybody, it would be Killmonger.
It looks just like a criminal amount of fun that whole 3-day weekend, it looks like. Boys and girls, we've spent almost an hour and a half with our favorite local barber, Clipper Jones. I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us, the fans, opening up, just kicking back like a couple of friends in the living room and talking wrestling and the story of Clipper Jones. And I know there's probably way more that I could ask you, but if I pull everything out now, we wouldn't be able to have a return and see what's going on with Clipper Jones's future and maybe pull more that I should have asked in the previous one. So if we could have you in a return, is that a possibility?
Always. I wouldn't be the local barber if I didn't have time for other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, that's what we love to hear. Before I do let you go, I want people to be able to find you. Joey G turned me on to you. So what I'm trying to do is spread a little bit of that barber love and give the boys and girls your Twitter, your Insta, your Facebook, your Pornhub, your OnlyFans, whatever you got. Hit it up. I'm sorry, I went a little too far. I apologize. Hit us, whatever details you've got for the socials, my man.
All right. So my Facebook is looking pretty gravy with over 900 friends. So what I can ask my fans, of the, Clipper Jones universe, local barber, all that. If I could ask people, even if you're friends with me on Facebook, to follow my Instagram and definitely my Twitter. My Twitter is really, really, dry right now, compared to my Instagram and Twitter. Instagram currently has about a little over 250 followers. My Twitter account has like 10. So, if you can follow Clipper Jones 365 and my Instagram and my Twitter. Both my Instagram and my Twitter are Clipper Jones 365. My Facebook is literally just Clipper Jones. I try to keep it simple for everybody, so they don't have to find that hard. That's why my name shows up on Google, because it's just Clipper Jones. There you go. But definitely Clipper Jones, Clipper Jones 365 for my Instagram and my Twitter. That's also for my website, by the way, clipperjones365.com. If you go to clipperjones365.com, you can get yourself a Clipper Jones t-shirt for $19.99. And I have different designs on there. I'm in the process of adding one more eventually, but it's easy to find. It's an off-brand website of Teespring. So if you go to clipperjones365.com, it'll just boom, take you right to the shirts. Click on which shirt you want, which size you want. I had one sent to one of my fans, Billy, he hangs out with Joey G. Sadly got hit by a car lately over the day. I had bought him a free. This was before the car crash. I was gonna do it from anyway because he gave me a 20 at the last 2TW show, and I ran out of shirts. So what I did was I took it eventually. I took the money. And I felt like an asshole about it, because why am I going to take the money and he has no shirt? So it's what I was going to do was I was going to take the money, have the shirt sent to his house, and call it a day. But you know what I did? I gave him the money back and said free of charge. So I had it sent to the house. He got the shirt in about 2 to 3 days. So it only takes about 2 to 3 days to get a Clipper Jones shirt.
Thank you for all those details. I did notice you skipped your Pornhub, but that's okay. Giving the love to giving the love back to the fans like that, Mr. Jones. I feel it right here in my heart. Beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Love you for that. Billy's a really good kid. Hit and run. Somebody legitimately hit him with a freaking car. Hands all messed up. I will say, Joey G put a picture of him with his cast on, and it said, Billy trying to give the finger. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious because it's just pretty much a ball. Good stuff. Good stuff. Billy, we speedy recovery, my man. We love you to pieces. Clipper, you have been a gem hanging out with us, the fans, tonight. And I cannot once again thank you enough for just hanging out, talking to us, opening up, and really having some good times, being informational, having some laughs, and just spreading some of your love. And I really, really do appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much.
Always. Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, me neither. Woo, boys and girls, with all of that said, this is Sir in the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, the local barber, Clipper Jones, my man.
So